Good evening, everyone. It is Friday, February 27th, 2026, and in this evening's video, we're going to be going over all the latest and greatest when it comes to our upcoming pattern and a discussion of all of the storm systems we may be seeing over the next couple of weeks. Going to waste no time here, so let's just get started. Like this video if you like it. Please consider subscribing down below. It really supports the channel. And of course, leave a comment down below where you're watching from. I would greatly appreciate it. So we're going to start off a little bit differently here, just kind of giving you the basics, especially because I'm recording this video a little bit earlier, about 4:40 here. But we're going to start off with the Storm Prediction Center risk area. This is a day 6 flight risk equivalent. So we're diving right in here. And so this is day 6, and this is just a 15% risk that we will see severe weather of some kind, kind of along areas of the Red River up into Oklahoma and Texas as of now. There will be an area of green, the marginal risk that surrounds this. But this is a day 6 equivalent, which means there's a lot of confidence in this. So this is something we have to watch. This is for our upcoming Wednesday, March the 4th. Definitely something to watch. We'll go over that here in a minute. No point really getting too detailed with this. But it goes down to Dallas, up to Oklahoma City for our main cities, Wichita Falls. So something to watch there. Very important there. So we're going to start off here with the winter storm we're about to see. Starting off Saturday morning here, you can see there's an area of snow in the Dakotas that kind of drops to the south. The GFS, that's what we're starting off here. It shows a little bit more snow than some of our other models do, but it doesn't make it wrong. It dives in and dives out. That's our first wave. Then we have our second wave developing down here in areas mainly of Missouri here to start off with. There's corridors of freezing rain. That's what shows up in this kind of that pink and even kind of dark like maroon color. It's freezing rain. I know it's kind of far down on your screen here. I can try to move it up. But this is getting into our upcoming Monday morning. Just a corridor of snow. Even the GFS has downtrended. Some of the last runs were definitely more beefed up. So this latest one here, definitely on the lower side, and it moves out. Then we have another surge of moisture getting into Tuesday here, into Tuesday into Wednesday even. So there's that. And moving it just a little bit east, this is starting off early Sunday morning. There's that first push of moisture, that first surge, makes it all the way into the northeast. Could drop reasonable snow in the northeast, 2 inches or so. Then here's the second wave. This is relatively far south. There's snow in areas of Virginia, North Carolina. It has freezing rain and sleet down as far south as the upstate of South Carolina. So interesting feature there. We move that out. Then that freezing rain really gets going along and east to the Appalachian Mountains. And as it makes its way up into the northeast, it really does get going more, although it's very warm. This has really started to kind of even itself out. Nothing too extreme on either end. Just kind of looks like an average system here. It moves in and moves out. But areas of moderate snow in some of these areas. We'll go over totals in a minute. So there's that. There's kind of another push of moisture afterwards. This is getting to the 6 of those. Nothing too crazy. So let's move to the European. What does it show? Starting off Saturday morning, here's this tongue of moisture that is falling as snow in areas of the Dakotas and Minnesota here to start off our tomorrow. It's 24 hours away. And it dives to the south. Again, the European's a little bit lighter with that. Makes its way into the Midwest, Great Lakes area. And then the second surge of moisture comes in, getting into early Monday morning, just after midnight or so, in areas of more Illinois on this run. It's just very light. It does not do a lot. It has intense snow within it, but it doesn't last very long. The area is not very large. There's a first push, and here's a second push, more intense up in areas of, say, Wisconsin and Michigan, both the UP and the lower areas of Michigan, and it moves its way out. So moving our way over a little bit, this is early Sunday morning with that first push. Very light stuff, almost not even worth mentioning. And our second push, barely anything. Gets some frozen precipitation into the Virginias, and that's really about it. And then there's the second push of moisture here that goes up into the northeast. So, I mean, there's corridors here in, say, the northern areas of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, where there is very heavy snow. This would be wet snow as well. But it falls and then moves out. So, total-wise, first I'm going to show you the freezing rain. Just because this can be dangerous if it happens. This is the GFS idea. I think it does a decent job showing that we could have the freezing rain, but it's really dropped off the signal as a majority for the first wave. It really focuses on the second wave. There's notable amounts of freezing rain even down into North Carolina. If you have over a couple of tenths of freezing rain, that can be dangerous. It can cause issues, and we do have that in the Greensboro, Raleigh, Durham area. So not to worry you, but there's a potential there. We see some freezing rain, enough to cause minor issues, but it makes its way up into the northeast. Just along and east of the Appalachian Mountains, there is definitely a signal. There's obviously other signals mixed in here with the first wave. Locally, over half an inch of freezing rain that fall in areas of Kansas here. So very interesting, but I'm not too worried about this. We've kind of trended away from a really icy scenario. Thank goodness. So obviously the thing that people like more would be the snow. I'm going to show you just the latest run that we've got access to completely. So this is the Euro Ensemble, kind of shows that first wave kind of come down through the Dakotas. And then you can see it kind of gets a little bit larger in areas of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin. It's nothing crazy. There's not even over 2 inches, except for a few areas in Illinois here. It does beef up a little bit in the Northeast, but nothing crazy. I will show you the national blend of models here. A little bit more aggressive with this initial wave that comes in, but it's also more sporadic down here. The last run that we saw that I showed you guys was this one, and it was much more beefed up in this area. So definitely something to consider. We've maybe trended a little bit away from something crazy, but the ceiling on this was never too high. But it really does beef up the Northeast. Between all of these waves, you could pick up locally areas over half a foot of snow that fall in areas of the far Northeast. So something to consider. And moving on to some of our operational runs. I lied. Here's the European AI ensemble. It's holding pretty steady, honestly, with just this kind of broad corridor of snow. It has that first wave as well. The shading is a little bit different on this website. Where it turns to blue, that's 3 inches or more, and these darker grays can be 1 to 2 inches. So it's a pretty consistent, solid signal. I buy this. So moving on to our operational runs, here's the GFS. This looks really weird to me because there's so many waves that come in, but this shows the first one, and this second one, this highlighted area over Minnesota here is not from the first wave. That's from like the last wave. It's kind of interesting. But that first wave comes through. This is pretty much through this event and all of its waves. So just think about it that way. But you got this corridor here in Nebraska, Kansas, Minnesota, Missouri here, locally pretty high amounts possible. And it makes its way into the mid-Atlantic, areas of Virginia, North Carolina, West Virginia. It does have some. I wonder how far south this will get, especially with the disagreement from other models. But you can see that this kind of northern part of it is pretty consistent through the Great Lakes areas and into the Northeast. Northeast kind of gets slammed, especially in the interior Northeast up into the far Northeast. Southern New England may not get a whole lot based on the GFS solution here. So the European model is pretty similar actually with the total footprint of it. You got kind of this first wave come down, breaks apart, and you get this second wave. It drops over 3 inches in areas of Illinois and some counties in Iowa and Missouri here. So something to watch. It even gets some notable snow over towards the central areas of Ohio here. Something to watch, and then it does beef up the Northeast, but really interior and northern areas. And then the Euro Ensemble also shows it. I think it's a good smoothed out kind of adult way to look at this, kind of the adult of the models, I think, in this scenario, showing the potential for all of these waves and kind of smoothing everything out, giving us just an easy to understand look here. And you can see there's this first wave kind of comes down, dies a little bit. That's going to happen. Our first wave, that's our second wave is right here. Again, I do question how far south this would be, but this has trended north, so I agree with it a little bit more. And then the last wave pushes up into the Northeast, dropping 1 to 2 inches of snow. I like this a lot, but I don't think our ceiling is very high with this anymore. 3-4 inches, maybe half a foot in some areas as the peak. So moving past that, we're going to go over just the overall pattern for the eastern U.S. here. So this is starting off the European model. Tomorrow morning, you can see the first wave rolls in and rolls out. Here's the second wave, dies off pretty quick on this run. Last wave, pretty big for the Northeast. And then just like that, this is the same day we have that severe threat this coming Wednesday. And you see all that red down there in areas of Texas and Oklahoma. That's associated with that risk, something to watch. Absolutely, for sure, we could be looking at a severe weather threat for that. I'm also watching the 6th through the 8th as another time frame for active severe weather in areas of the Central Plains, even as far east as the Mississippi River, on average, that is. And this is the 8th, and then the 9th through the 12th is another one. We're going to have these several low pressures that kind of fly in from the central areas of the country and then shoot up to the Great Lakes very quickly, bringing with them the potential for severe weather. And they kind of yank up that Gulf moisture that can get stuff going. And there's more. This is March 11th, 12th. It even gets some severe storms possibly over into the southeast and even the mid-Atlantic. Something to watch. There's snow mixed up in this as well. I mean, the winter's not over yet. It just is starting to kind of downtrend significantly as we're getting into March here. But right towards the end of the run, the Euro does throw some snow into areas of Illinois and Missouri here, so something interesting. This is the last frame we got. So what about the GFS? Does it agree? So starting off now, first wave of that comes in, second wave comes in and leaves, and then the last wave kind of amplifies and moves on out. So something to watch, but I'm not too concerned about it. And then here's that March the 4th or so. There's definitely some activity down here in these areas. So the GFS model does agree. And then after that, watching from the 6th to the 8th, there's a lot of activity down there in areas, I mean, specifically like Arkansas, and the Arklatex, the Arklamis, even up into areas of Missouri here, definitely just a lot of activity, just repeated shots of energy in this area. And there's big snowstorms to be had, according to the GFS. Look at these. Stuff like this happens. Big sprawled out low pressure and gets a lot of cold air in behind it. This is getting to like March the 12th, not a forecast. At the end of the run, it does the same thing. So something to watch. Winter's not over, but I do question this. So I'm not even going to show you the Western US because there just is not anything going on. So this is the AI guidance part of this. And so you can see we're starting off right now and moving forward. There's that first wave, pretty light on the European AI here. Second wave rolls in, very marginal. And then it kind of beefs itself up for the last wave and moves on out. Now, for the March 4th into the 5th, there's a lot of moisture down here. So our AI guidance is also showing some severe potential there. And it moves out. There's repeated. It's the 7th. There's a lot going on down there in areas of the kind of, in between the southern plains and the southeast. Something going on there. So something to watch. And then this is the end frame. There's still stuff going on. So what about the AI GFS here? Starting off, first wave rolls in, rolls out, a little bit more intense, kind of like its deterministic friend. And then this is the quote unquote main wave here. It really doesn't look like a main wave at all. It's just very warm, a lot of rain, very little snow. And then that last wave almost doesn't even exist on this run. Something to consider. And then for the 4th, there's that area of precipitation that's showing up here, very smoothed out look. And then there's another one on the 7th and the 8th. Something to watch. We have a lot of consistency for that. I think we do have a severe weather threat that we'll have to watch closely. And this is the 9th. We got another area, another low pressure with moisture to the south, snow to the north. So interesting. And that's the last frame we've got. So moving into the sort of pattern discussion part of this, this is starting off March the 5th. I think this is when we start to see some things change more dramatically, kind of midway through the first week of March. And so let's just get this going here. 144 hours out to start with. And what you're looking at here is the mid-level, and you are looking at the height anomaly. So if you see these reds like this, that is areas of higher pressure and warmer air. And you see areas of blue like this, that's a trough of cooler air and lower pressure. So you can see we have two ridges. If you go back a few frames, it was one ridge. They kind of get broken apart by this extension of the trough that comes down. Starting on the 5th or so into the 6th, and it kind of reinforces itself. Get into the 8th and 9th. What this is going to do, let's go back a few frames here. You can see these black lines that kind of go like this, and up here they kind of like this. Those are the height contours here. Don't focus on what they are. Generally, those essentially can point the way for storms. So kind of like this or like this. That's the way all of these low pressures go. So once we get into and past the first week of March, I think we're gonna have a lot of low pressures here that form and then shoot off to the northeast very quickly. And anytime you have that, especially this time of year, you run the risk of drawing up some sort of warm, moist air from the Gulf. And if you got the wind energy involved, you can have a severe threat. We're gonna have a lot of activity. I made a video yesterday afternoon going over that, so feel free to go back and watch it. But I mean, there's just a lot going on here. It's the 8th, 9th. That trough sticks around, does start to modulate a little bit. Get into the 14th. This is the last frame, and this look is a bit different as well. You have this trough up here in areas of Canada, pretty large, but if you follow these black lines, they kind of dive down like this and dive down like this. So this would tell me that the kind of northern areas of the U.S., obviously Canada, could be cooler than average temperature-wise. So let's look at them. Here's temperatures. This is temperature anomalies at the surface, and if you see red, that is above average. If you see blue, that's below. And this is starting off the 5th as well. You can see just a lot of red. This map is going to be predominantly red, I think, for quite a while, because we just have a lot of warm air to deal with here. well above average temperature-wise. This is like, but for the 6th and into the 7th or so, that's not a good look for severe weather. You don't want that. That can bring in a higher ceiling for sure. And you can see this trough really gets going in the western U.S. here as we get like towards the 10th. A very big gradient here, well above average in the east, well below average in the west. And you can see this that pattern sticks around. However, we get out to the end and you can start to see that there's cold air taking over areas of Canada and the northern U.S. That lines up, by the way, with what I just showed you right here. The circle doesn't line up, but you can see that that trough extends into some of these areas and it lines up well. So that's why we look at all of these things. So that's the end frame. Again, predominantly red. A lot of red on this map, especially in the eastern U.S. Something to consider, but I think we're just going to have a lot of warmth to deal with. So just kind of sum all that up. Here's essentially what I like to call our activity map. This is total precipitation, whether it falls as snow, rain, or hail, or whatever it falls as. So this can show us where the most of our activity can be, because I've said this before. An active day of weather is defined by some sort of precipitation, whether that's snow or rain or what it is. And you can see there's just a very defined area of higher totals here, especially over areas of Arkansas and Oklahoma here. Not to specifically name you guys, just an idea. But I think that's because we have low pressures that form like right here and they shoot off to the north. And so you have a lot of energy and you have a lot of higher dew points, a lot of moisture drawn up from the south. So we can get stuff going. We could have flooding potential in these areas here. I'm not calling that yet. I don't have it pulled up, but the Weather Prediction Center agrees. They've issued a very high risk for heavy rainfall across this darkest areas of purple here, even into this like maroon. So a lot of rain on the way, beneficial rain, of course, but this is our activity map. That's what I like to call it. So if you live under this purple, just keep in mind, and even if you don't, if you live over here in the eastern U.S., don't think you're going to get nothing. Especially in the purple, just think about it as we could be seeing a lot of activity over the next little bit. So thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Tune in tomorrow morning. I'll have you guys a forecast video out just for the day. And I will see you guys, if nothing else, by tomorrow evening. Thank you for watching.